My name is Danita Gibbs, and I am currently a Master in Arts Journalism student at the University of Miami. This is my mom, Brenda Daniel Smith, and my father, Donald Gibbs. My first encounter with probably like racism or like a microaggression towards me that I like recognized would have to be when I was in middle school. I was starting my whole like natural hair journey, so I was still learning how to do my hair, and I had an afro kind of at the time, and I had a teacher who she happened to be white, who was just like, "Oh, your hair, it looks a little different today." And then I came in a few days later with my hair done. I had box braids in, and she was like, "Yes, that's the Danita hair that I'm used to. Now it's put together now." And then when I would turn on the television, I would hardly see people on with it. So I would say, okay, well, if they're not showing it on the TV, then obviously society isn't used to it or they don't really care for it. I internalized that like, okay, well, I don't care for it either. Society kind of made me shy away from wanting to be natural.
I'm Shruti. I belong to a city called Ahmedabad in India. And I believe for the purpose of this documentary, I should mention I am brown skinned. And I would love to talk about my journey a little more. I am an architect and uh, I finished my graduation from a college in my own city. And I have been in Australia for about 3 years, where I worked for a little bit and I did my master's. Many people in India, across the world, face uh, this issue, which is racism or colorism. People are constantly compared by their complexion, and it is impossible to escape. You have these general comments every now and then, and you actually encounter, and I believe every other person encounters them, because this obsession of fair skin in Indians is very very deep rooted. It's very widespread and it's practiced everywhere throughout the country. So it's very difficult to escape something like that. You'll always be complimented for looking a little fair. You'll be told that you are more tanned, considering that the skin you had was already tanned. You will be you'll be given certain products because they were tried and tested and proven to lighter your skin tone and not just give it a glow that you might actually want. Uh, you will be asked to use certain products right before like a big day because you want to look fair, which equals to looking beautiful. When I was in high school, so that was the 10th grade, and I was in the certain school where people usually mocked me by calling me a black beauty. And yeah, that really affected me. I think I already had the sense of feeling inferior or having an inferiority complex, which only took a toll on me as I started living more of the days around people who called me a black beauty. And I was condescended every day, and I felt very meek, very weak, very powerless. And I really believe every day when I entered the school and I was shouted on or called as a black beauty, it wasn't just the level of attractiveness that was affected, but it was my words, it was my value, my power that that was uh, deeply affected. And I think that was a big change in my life, uh, when there was a transformation period and I realized that no, I cannot be around these people. I still wasn't aware enough to say that this was racism, but I knew that I wasn't happy, and this was not something that I wanted. And that was the moment I walked out of that school the next year, and I decided to not be around those people. I never realized that this was wrong. I never realized that I needed to speak for myself. At that point, I believed that it was a fault, that something was wrong in me, and it was an error in me that needed to be corrected, which is why I didn't feel like this was a topic that needed to be talked about, and it just ended up uh, being a correction that I needed to work on. So I never ended up talking to anybody about it, pretty much until I realized after moving to Australia that my whole perception uh, about me being treated in a certain way as compared to other complexions was wrong. And yeah, I think that's when I tried to tweak things a little bit after coming back.
I do have a younger cousin named Brianna who is very, very light complexion. Like, she gets confused for white all the time. So I definitely would see how people would treat her a little bit different. And even guys, like, guys would automatically go up to her, versus going up to me, because they're like, oh, she's light skinned, she's foreign looking. In my mind, like, are they only telling her she's pretty because she's light skinned? So if she was my skin color, would they also still be telling her she's pretty? Whenever she would come to North Carolina, I would see how people from North Carolina would treat her, black and white. I would see how they would treat her, and they would treat her a little bit differently because she's light skinned. And we would even have family members at like family cookouts and stuff who, like, when she would walk in, they would be like, okay, Beyonce, I see you, Beyonce, I see you. But then I would walk in with a similar makeup, similar outfit, nothing. When we were younger, she would automatically get called out as being cute. And the rest of us was just like, there.
There were a couple of events that had transpired when I was little. And by little, I essentially mean probably 5, 6 years old, and just just too young to realize that I was a victim of racism or colorism. And what had happened was uh, I lived as a joint family with my uncle, aunt, their 2 kids, and me and my brother. So we were in all 4 of us. And I was the one who was born dark skinned or brown skinned. And there were moments where my grandmother denied to take me along to a temple visit that she very often went to, only because I was dark skinned, and she was ashamed of me as I started crying as a child to let me come along with her, and she kept denying. That is when my mother realized she could not have taken that anymore, and she decided to not cook a meal for her that day and instead take me to that temple. She really did put her foot down, and I think that really helped me be a little more strong about it, be able to face or to say that I am valuable irrespective of my complexion.
Back in September. It looks like that. Definitely seeing how people treated her, as well as any other of my like friends who I had who were lighter skin. I definitely would sit there and be like, okay, or especially like when it came to relationships, I was like, okay, are guys not seeing me because I'm not light skinned? You know, is it because I'm not light enough? And then going from my skin color, I would then go to, okay, am I not skinny enough? Is my hair not long enough? Are my lips too big? My nose too big? I would start to pull out different things from my like external appearance that I shouldn't be ashamed of. Like, I shouldn't be ashamed of my curves. I shouldn't be ashamed of my lips, my skin, my hair. I shouldn't be ashamed of that. But I would be, because I would say, okay, I'm not getting the same attention from people as my lighter skinned friends are getting. So that definitely made me feel a little self-conscious in my skin. I definitely had friends who were maybe a little bit darker, who guys would be like, oh, you would be so much prettier if you were lighter. And it would be like black guys who would say it. And it's like, you are the same race as me, and you're tearing me down because I'm too dark to date you. Like, so now if you're saying that to me, how do I think people who are white are going to react to me, to my skin color? If you're saying this, and we're of the same race. So now I'm already like, I'm feeling like self-conscious within my own culture, and now I got to step out and talk to other people, and now I'm like, oh, they're judging me too because I'm too dark.
When I come back to India, I realize that uh, people very generally have their comments and their judgments, which might be as basic as,
oh, this color will suit on you because you are wheatish. And oh, you'll have to be careful you don't get more tanned, as if you are, you already come under the category of being tanned. And if you didn't have a nose that is that fat. I hope you find somebody who's fair skinned, so your generation ahead can also have an opportunity to be fair skinned because you are dark.
All of these little comments do affect you. And I think personally, it did affect me more because these comments were coming from people who loved me. So they were really trying to protect me. They were really trying to watch out, look out for me, which uh, which will always affect you a little more because you cannot absolutely second them, you cannot absolutely argue them, because you do know that there are people who love you and they say those things because they care for you, they are watching out for you. And it is just unfortunate that the way we still need to watch out for each other is by having a skin color that is a brighter shade than what I am.
I've recognized that my skin color is powerful and that to some people that scares them. That's why back with slavery, they didn't want to teach them how to read and write. They wanted to separate the husbands from the wives. And they also divided us as a culture by putting light skins inside and dark skins outside. So now we still have this internal divide within our own culture because of what happened during slavery when none of us were even thought of yet. If you have a TV show and there is a interracial couple where you have a white man and a black woman, the woman 9 times out of 10 is lighter. She's light skinned. If she does have her natural hair out, is the looser curls, the bigger fro. You rarely see women of the same complexion as Viola Davis or Lupita. You hardly see those women in those types of roles because if they're going to be with a white man, they're probably going to be like a lighter skinned black woman. So now black males and black females, they see like, oh, okay, well, society is like light skin, light skin, light skin, beautiful, light skin. And it's like, that's what I want. That's what society deems as being good looking. That's what I have to have. I have to have mixed babies. I have to have lighter skin mixed babies, the good hair mixed babies.
I feel like media and Bollywood has a very huge impact. Bollywood definitely impacts people, everybody, all the Indians, in a way that it might not in many other countries. Bollywood and media definitely has a lot of control over the minds of people, and they can very strongly change how people think or how people feel.
While working in Australia, I realized that there were people who were fair skinned and in very straight terms were very dumb. So I realized that after having that first-hand experience, that you being a brown skinned person is so much more smarter, gives you that boost. But I would really call out to all of these people who might be of different skin color and tell them that don't take as much time as I did, or don't try to stumble upon these events or situation to realize that you are worth everything as much as any other person out there. So don't let the issue of color pull you down. And I believe if you get an opportunity, if you can any day stand up and try avoiding these passive comments, because this change can really come through new generations. And I would really encourage everybody to start acknowledging, to start correcting all of these comments, these judgments, and I hope India becomes a fair country once again, but fair in our terms.
Even as a young child, even though I didn't come into contact with racism like quickly, it kind of like took a while before it actually came to my face. I still understood where I stood in this country because my mom taught me that. She taught me up front, like, hey, this country isn't for you. People are going to look at you and say, oh, she's black. I knew it very early on that, okay, there's going to be certain times in this world that I'm going to have to try harder just because I look different. So I pride myself on being the best academically, on being the best in whatever sport I was playing. I mean, I was third in my graduating class in high school. I graduated cum laude in undergrad. I got into graduate school. So like my mom has always pushed that narrative in my head, like, be better. Because if they're at 100, you got to be at 110. You have to, because they're already going to see you and want to put you down at 75. They're already going to want to drop you low because they're like, oh, she can't do this. She's black. They're dumb. I definitely knew that when it came to me wanting to do anything of importance in this world, I was going to have to push myself to be above and beyond, because since this country isn't for me, it might not see me.